Hello, all. Welcome to Smart Classes. In today's class, we will discuss the period after Salarjung-1. That is, Salarjung-2, his son has been appointed as the Diwan. That is from the period of 1884 to about 1919s and 1900s. So, in today's class, we'll basically discuss the rule of Mir Mehboob Ali Khan, and after that, the rule of Nizam-VII, who is Mir Osman Ali Khan. You can remember the name of Mir Osman Ali Khan by the Osmania University, which was named after him because he is responsible for the establishment of Osmania University. So, coming to Nizam-VI, who was Mir Mehboob Ali Khan. He was appointed as a ruler on February 5th, 1884. And then, after the appointment of Nizam-VI, Salarjung-2 was appointed exactly after 16 days of his appointment as a Divan. Exactly after 16 days of his appointment, that is, appointment of Nizam-VI, Urdu has become the official language of Hyderabad state. Till Salarjung I was there, he never agreed or he fought for stopping Urdu being the official language. But as soon as Salarjung II entered, he has made Urdu as the official language. He's going completely against Salarjung I, who is his own father. Basically, Salarjung I was studied abroad, has been studied abroad, and he has many European and non-Mulki friends, that is non-Hyderabadi friends. So because of that, he is more towards the non-Mulkis, or he is more favorable towards the non-Mulkis. So the Salarjung too has changed the language, the official language to Urdu. Because the official language was changed to Urdu, none of the Muslims were able to work in the higher jobs or higher positions because they don't know Urdu. The medium of education in Hyderabad state was Persian. So it was a great problem for the Mulkis. Then, because of this Urdu, as the statement says, problems faced by locals because the education medium was Persian medium. And then, one fine day, Nizam has got the doubt of Salajang too favoring non-Mulkis. And then he has asked for the list of the government employees with their local status. That is, they belong to Mulki or the non-Mulki, and their salaries has been asked by Nizam-VI to the Salajang to provide for the list. And the first list was produced in front of Nizam-VI, which has told that 246 Muslims were employed, Mulkis were employed in the official jobs, and 230 non-Mulkis were employed. 246 Mulkis were 52% of the employees, and the non-Mulkis were 48% of the employees. But the salaries of Mulkis amounted for 42%, whereas salaries of non-Mulkis amounted for 58%. That is, non-Mulkis, even they were less than Mulkis, they got higher salaries or they were paid higher because they were in a higher positions with higher salaries. And then, after seeing the list, after seeing the results of the local and non-local status of the government employees, Nizam has passed an order. What does the order say? The order says that Mulkis are to be appointed for higher posts and paid higher salaries. If Mulkis are not eligible for the higher post, even then they have to be appointed and they have to be trained. This was the first time when civil services came into existence in Hyderabad state. That is, Mulkis have to be appointed and then trained and then position them in the post having higher salaries. And then in 1884, as President of Council of States. Yeah, Nizam acted as a president of Council of State, and he has passed this order in order to have Mulkis in the highly paid salaries. This, as I already told you, this has made for the beginning of the establishment of civil services in India. And then government jobs in October 1884 after the order was passed. What was the condition? Now it was 274 out of 421 to be Hyderabadis and 147 out of 421 to be non-Mulkis. But the salary of the non-Mulkis was 63% and the salary of the Mulkis were, if it is 63%, and the salary of the Hyderabadis or Mulkis was 37%. But the number of non-Mulkis were 35% and the Mulkis were 65%. Even after the order was passed, 65% of the Mulkis got 37% of the salary, 35% of the Mulkis got 63% of the salary. That is, the difference between the salaries of the Mulkis and non-Mulkis increased furthermore. This shows that the order was not implemented in a right manner. After seeing these results, the Nizam-VI has removed Salarjung-2 as the PM. Salarjung-2 has been removed as the PM after the seeing the result. That is, even after passing the order, as the order is not implemented in the right manner, Nizam-VI has got angry and he has removed Salarjung-2 from the post of Prime Minister. And then the next Diwan, Asmanjal, has been appointed. He has tried to bridge the gap, but he was also not successful in bridging the gap. That is, bringing a higher number of Mulkis into the higher posts. This was not effectively done by Asmanjal also. Percentage of non-Mulkis grew by 48% to 66% from 1886 to 1894. That is, not only the salaries, even the number of people working in the even the number of people working in the government offices has also increased. This 66% basically consisted of non-mulkis and also their sons who were now mulkis. So they were called mulkis, but they were not actually mulkis. They were appointed by their fathers who were already in the higher positions because of their recommendation or because of their strong hold in the government. They have employed their sons and son-in-laws into the posts. So the number of non-mulkis has increased from 48 to 66% from 1886 to 1894. There was a newspaper called Hyderabad Record, which used to support Mulkis and used to publish all these news in their newspapers. And then finally, disputes between Mulki and non Mulki Muslims. Not only now the differences between Mulki and non Mulki Muslims have increased to a higher extent. Not only those differences, they started, Mulkis and non Mulkis started getting married with each other and started getting married and the disputes started arising because of the marriages. Disputes started arising because of the differences or because of the differences in status of non-mulkis and mulkis. There was a newspaper called the Muhammadin which favored mulkis and Illa Bakshi newspaper favored non-mulkis. Actually, Illa Bakshi newspaper has written in their news one day that even if mulkis have to be appointed in the government jobs, are they eligible? Are they educated enough? Are they strong enough to hold their positions? That is, Mulkis are not fit for anything and they cannot be appointed as government employees, was written by Ilhabakshi newspaper. And because of this, different types of Muslims were formed in the different types of Mulkis were formed in the Hyderabad state. The two types were bona fide Mulkis and Hyderabad born Mulkis. Bona fide Mulkis are nothing but children of the employees and stayed for 15 years. If an employee is wo- if an employee is a resident of Hyderabad for 15 years, their children are automatically are automatically getting the local status or automatically becoming mulkis. These mulkis are known as bona fide mulkis. Whereas whereas the children of non-Mulki employees who completed 12 years of services were also who were born in uh, Telangana or the Hyderabad state were the children born in the soil. And then first Mulki graduate in Hyderabad. Sorry, first Hindu Mulki graduate in Hyderabad, who was Roy Bal Mukund. He was the first Hindu Mulki graduate in Hyderabad, and he has become the first person to work in the High Court. He has also been appointed in a in a committee to submit a report on the legislative reforms. We'll study about it in the next slide. And then coming to the Hindu versus Muslims. Till now, we have seen the fight between Muslim Mulkis and Mulki non-Muslims. Also, so now the highest population, which is the Hindus, coming to the picture. In 1894 civil services, 63 among 680 were Hindus. Even when the Hindus were the majority, but the employed Hindus were very less. That is 63 among 680 were only Hindus, and 20 among 63 were Mulki Hindus. The other people were non-Mulki Hindus. That is, there were some lakhs of Hindus present, Mulki Hindus present in Hyderabad state, but only 20 were employed in the civil services out of 680. And then in 1901, Maharaja Sir Krishan Prasad was appointed as the first Hindu Diwan for Hyderabad state. Then there were many celebrations made because he was the first Hindu Diwan who was appointed under the Nizam. His name was Maharaja Sir Kishan Prasad. I expect you people to definitely remember this name because this can be asked in the prelims questions or any group 1, group 2, group 3 or group 4 questions. And then coming to the next slide, it is about Mir Osman Ali Khan, who took over when Mehboob Ali Khan has died in 18 September 1911. He removed as soon as he came into as we have studied in 1901. Kishan Prasad was appointed as the Diwan. As soon as Usman Ali Khan has been made the Nizam, he has removed Sir Kishan Prasad from the Diwanship, and he has appointed him again in 1927, and he continued till 1937. Here are the few political reforms made by Mir Usman Ali Khan. He has abolished Cabinet Council and established Executive Council. That is, the same council would be responsible for taking and implementing decisions. In the previous case, there were two different councils for taking the decisions and implementing decisions, but in this case, in the Executive Council, this Executive Council is responsible for both taking and implementing decisions. And then Sir Syed Ali Inam has been appointed as the PM from August 1919 to September 1922. He was also the first president of the Executive Council. Nizam passed a farman to introduce reforms in the Legislative Council. And then coming, so according to the farman he has passed, these are the reforms to be carried out in the Legislative Council. The first thing, increase in the members of the Legislative Council, direct elections to the Legislative Council, special status to the tribes, rights to minorities, rules and regulations with respect to right to vote, deciding number of officials and members in the assembly, authorities and responsibility of the members in the assembly. That is, getting the government into stable form, and people working for the government be accountable to the reforms they are making or the policies they are getting onto the table. And then after the reforms have been made, a report was submitted by the committee with a committee from Roy Balmukund on reforms. As I already told you, he was the first Hindu Mulki who has graduated, and he was also former High Court Justice. He has submitted the report on the Farman in 18 months after the formation of the committee. According to his report, he said that increase in the members to 104, and among these 104, 50% must be elected by the people, and 50% must be nominated by the government. And he also said that empowering assembly as in Minto Morley reforms. As you already know, Minto Morley reforms, which were taken place in 1909, he has suggested to implement those reforms in the Hyderabad state. Formation of the Association of Hyderabad State Reforms. An association has been formed on the reforms to be made in the Hyderabad. The aim of this association is to implement political reforms by Roy Bal Mukund. But the government did not grant permission for its meeting because the government knew that because the government is not implementing the political reforms of Bal Mukund. This association has been formed, and this association may go against the government. So they did not grant any permission to conduct the meeting of this association. And the government also passed a farman that no association can conduct any meetings. Government appointed a committee to look into the report in 1922. Finally, government has appointed a committee to look into the report submitted by Roy Balmukund in 1922. But the report submitted by this committee has also not been considered. And the members of this committee was Nawab Nizam Jang Bahadur, Nawab Tilawat Jang Bahadur, Nawab Haidar Jang, Raj Bahadur Krishna Chari. But the suggestions or the advices given by the committee have never been considered. All meetings related to education, society, commerce were stalled because of the formation of association. They said no association can conduct their meetings. Then the association related to education, society, and commerce was also stalled, and the government was going very slow, and there was a economic slowdown because of this, because of the stalling of the meetings. Government has consulted by the civil committee leader Ramachandra Nayak. Then government has been consulted by the civil committee whose leader was Ramachandra Nayak. And there was a Mulki non-Mulki dispute as we have been studying all through the lecture. And finally, definition of Mulki was given by Krishna Prasad. So, according to him, a Mulki is a person or the people living in the old city for generations, migrated from rural and neighboring areas, children of non-Mulkis who came in 19th century, entrance rectified, certified as Muslims, Mulkis. So, as you know, in our constitution right now, we have a few rules to get the citizenship by birth, by naturalization, by registration, so on. In the same way, there were four conditions put forward by Krishna Prasad to define a Mulki, people living in old city for generations and then migrated from rural and neighboring areas, children of non-Mulkis who came in 19th century, entrants certified as Mulkis. And after this, Mulkis have also started studying English so that they can get into government positions and earn a good salary. Establishment of Usmania University. Finally, Usmania University was established by Mir Osman Ali Khan Nizam-VII, and it was named after his name, Mir Osman Ali Khan. The order for the establishment was given in given on 22nd September 1918, and the medium of studying is Urdu. English is a compulsory second language, that is each and every person would definitely study Urdu and English. In 1878, Nizam College was established with English medium. And progress of education under Nizam 7. How has the education developed under Nizam 7? Let us compare the statistics from 1920-21 to 1934-35. Coming to the budget for education, it was 14 lakhs in 1920 and 1 crore in 1934. Institutions were 1036, and here it's 4800, which has increased a lot. And the educated people were 66,484 in 1920s, and in 1934 it's 3,64,252. And the people who passed matriculation till 1920 was 1000. By 1934, the scenario has changed such that every year there were around 1100 people graduating or passing the matriculation. And the medium, as I already told you, medium was Urdu, and number of guested officers in government in 1974 to 48. There were 754 Muslims out of 999 Muslims, as the medium was Urdu and the official language was Urdu. It was easier for Muslims to study the language, so there were a lot of Muslims in the government jobs. And the Hindus who were educated were 4.03%, and the Muslims who were educated were 10.35% in 1931. If we then take the scenario of 1938, there were 9% of the total men educated in Hyderabad state, whereas the other states such as Mysore, Chennai, etc., it was definitely above 17%. So that's it for today. Today we have studied about the government, that is most importantly education under the rule of Mir Osman Ali Khan Nizam VII, and the reforms or the gun or the things Salarjung 2 has done. And then finally how did the condition how was the condition between Hindus and Muslims, Hindus versus Muslims, and Mulkis versus non-Mulkis. So these are the things we have studied today. So wait for the next class, and we'll discuss more of history of Telangana or the idea of Telangana in the next class. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Signing off. Smart classes. Keep smiling.